Hey everyone, Ray here. This is it, finally getting my hands on the Samsung Galaxy Z TriFold. Now, this time around, we'll be taking a first look, a relatively comprehensive one at it, though the main focus of this video will be the software, especially the multitasking experience here on One UI 8. Now look how different it actually is from the Galaxy Z Fold 7, other than just the extra hinge and, well, the extra crease here as well. We'll be digging really deep into what it actually can and cannot do. Well, here for the accessories that come with the box, here we've got a case, though the one here that comes with the box is only a back cover that also wraps around the hinge area. Now, I personally is expecting a really well-built case here, considering you will definitely be paying extra for their first triple folding phone, so everyone should deserve a well-built case that is included as a gift. Now, this particular one here is the South Korean version. They do come with a matte finish case that is soft to touch with carbon fiber pattern on top. Now, I know the Huawei triple folding phone, that might actually give you extra flexibility of having a semi-folded book-style form. Now, the TriFold is indeed coming to the market like 1 or 2 years later than that, and it only comes with 2 use case scenarios, a folded bar phone form and tablet extended form. Though here, I do appreciate what Samsung's done to this phone is like a well thought out and well built product. By saying so, the exposed display here on top is actually covered by Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2. That's the exact same material we've found on the S25 Edge, also protected by armor aluminum frame, and a reinforced hinge here. That is covered by titanium. And finally, the back cover, as well as one that is folded in between the 2 modules. Those are covered with ceramic glass fiber reinforced polymer. So everything that is exposed is not easy to break, maybe not easy to scratch either. And the last accessory that's worth mentioning here that comes with the box is the 45-watt fast charging wall adapter. So the TriFold should be the fastest charging foldable phone at the moment from Samsung. Now, speaking of the box, big shout out to Trinity Electronic. We do review and compare quite a lot of phones, so this particular one is rather special. The TriFold hasn't actually been officially launched here in Hong Kong, where I'm living in right now. So truly thanks Trinity for giving me enough time to play with this device. They do ship phones, this particular one from Korea, to everywhere. Right, back to the TriFold. They've put 2 displays on this phone, just like the Fold 7. And speaking of the Fold 7, we've actually got a very similar 6.5 inches display with a 21:9 aspect ratio here on the outer display. Well, when it's fully extended or opened, it's actually located here in the middle part, though the implementation and the mechanics of these 2 hinges here on the TriFold is surprisingly different from that on the Fold 7, which I've experienced. On the Fold 7 here, you're actually having a very solid and sturdy hinge that stays wherever you stop pushing it. Now, don't get me wrong, the hinges here on the TriFold are indeed really sturdy and strong as well, though they behave and feels differently from that on the Fold 7. Here on the Fold 7, the hinge gives us the flexibility to adjust the angle of the outer display or the inner display when it's opened like a laptop. While here on the TriFold, it's more like it springs open. Now we know there's no in-between mode, so that might actually make sense. There's absolutely no point of having a hinge that behaves more like a laptop or the Fold 7. Instead, what we shall care about is, does it actually stay flat in sort of tablet mode? Moment of truth, now it does stays flat. Now here's what we're going to do. As always, we'll definitely be pushing it to the absolute limit. Can it just stays flat and fully opened when I'm applying forces to it? Or even shaking it while I'm holding actually a small portion of the entire tablet? Now, I'm not here trying to do a drop test, maybe dropping it from 1 meter or 2 meters high when it's fully opened. Damaging it or not, it will definitely be a nightmare. Now, the bottom line is, it opens fully flat and it stays in place. So when folded, it feels like a solid, maybe slightly on the thicker side phone, while when unfolded, it feels truly like a tablet. Actually, a remarkably thin one, measured at 3.9mm at its thinnest point and 4.2 at its thickest point. Now, even when folded, look, here we've got the last gen Fold 6. When folded, the thickness of this 1.5-year-old phone, and this particular one here that folds twice and comes with 3 separate modules. When folded, that's 12.9mm. Now I'm pretty sure all of you out there know about that. So we have here the S25 Edge, the S25 Ultra, Fold 7, as well as the Fold 6. Now the S25 Edge, though if we compare it to only one module of a trifold, you'll see how thin the trifold actually is. Now that might also be one of the reasons for some of you out there just not impressed by a 5-point-something millimeters thick phone, as we have a 3-point-something millimeters thin one here. The Fold 7 here in the meantime comes in at 8.9 millimeters. Right, the trifold. If we take a closer look here, the center module and the one on the left, the combined thickness of these two modules actually similar to an entire Fold 7, might be just a tiny bit thinner than that. Now the one on the right with the camera modules, that's literally the extra layer here. You're basically getting a much larger 16:11 10-inch display here on the trifold compared to the 7.6 inches more relatively square-ish display there on the Fold 6. Moving on to the real highlight of this video. Now 50% of the time is pretty much the same as what we've got on the Fold 7, and that 50% is actually coming from the phone, or in fact the foldable phone interface. Now what really intrigued me here on the trifold is Samsung's actually put the entire Samsung DeX here. If you knew, that's the exact same interface which you've got on the Tab S11 Ultra, which we've reviewed just a couple of weeks ago. And for everybody else, now every app you're going to launch will just pop up as a floating window. You can as well move that around and resize it. Meanwhile, there you have the phone app. This could be the first time you can actually make a phone call using the SIM card or the eSIM inside your tablet. In this case, the trifold, a phone. Right, so 5 floating windows we have here. Trying a 6th. Right, so the maximum number of apps we can run at a time is 5. What really surprised me here is now Samsung's actually giving every single feature that we've got on the Tab S11 Ultra here on the trifold. Combining the Samsung DeX interface we have got natively on the trifold, you may now use your tablet, in this case actually the trifold, as your main computer, extending your workstation to an external monitor wirelessly or wired. This is actually a new feature that was just added this year on the Tab S11 Ultra. You can do the exact same thing here on the trifold. So the trifold is now just as powerful and versatile as any flagship Samsung tablet, the latest generation ones. They've virtually put everything they could here, not only the hardware, but also the software. Alternatively, you may project your screen of your trifold wirelessly or wired to your smart displays through the legendary Samsung DeX feature, which can also be found on your S25 Ultra. Now the external monitor will become your only and primary display, and the trifold itself will now become your 10-inch, foldable, technologically advanced trackpad. Oh, and that doubles as your virtual keyboard as well, when needed. Now there's one more interesting feature that's worth mentioning here. Even second screen is supported here on the trifold, so you may now pair it up with your Windows laptop, this time being an external monitor of your primary device. Now Samsung's multi-controls also support it as well. What it actually do it for you is that you can use a Bluetooth mouse to control both your phone and the trifold at the same time. That's basically the same as what we've got on the Tab S11 Ultra, so your pointer will actually move across the tablet to your phone, then from the phone back to your tablet. So that's basically everything that's different from the Fold 7 in terms of the software. Now back to the phone, foldable phone interface. What we used to do on the Fold 7 is splitting the screen into 3 halves, so that's more like one larger half screen on one side of a screen and 2 apps on the other side of a screen, splitting that half of a screen further into 2 halves. Now you can certainly do the exact same thing here on the trifold. For that, each split screen view will now be larger thanks to the larger and wider display here on the trifold compared to the Fold 7. What's new here is that you can run 3 apps at the same time side by side vertically, resizing and rearranging them. Of course, that's not a problem here. Now, due to the base model here on the trifold actually features 16GB of RAM, and that's basically telling us it's a phone/tablet that's meant for multitasking. Right, so we have 3 split screen apps here, and on top of that we can have 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 7, and the 8th app here actually. That would certainly be more than enough for most of us, 99.99% of the time. When it comes to multitasking, that's where Samsung truly shines. Now, for the past 10 minutes or so, we've been focusing on how brilliant the TriFold actually is. And now, if we really have to pick some downsides. As for the screens, here on the Fold 7, you have a 2600 nits display on both the outer and the inner display. While here on the TriFold, you have a brighter screen on the outside that's measured at 2600 nits, the same as what you've got on the Fold 7, while the one inside reaches 1600 nits. I personally wouldn't call that a deal breaker. If we take a look at the iPad Pro, the M5 version, the latest one, as well as the Galaxy Tab S11 Ultra, the top-of-the-line tablet from Samsung, now they both hit around 1600 nits. We might actually see 1600 nits as the standard for current generation tablet. So what I would really love to see is an anti-reflective screen protector for the inner display, especially here, the screen is growing onto the 10-inch territory. 1, I wouldn't want a 10-inch fingerprint magnet, and 2, I wouldn't want a 10-inch mirror. Though that's relatively minor here. The Stun here is a 10-inch tablet that can be carried around inside your pocket. Now, the third downside in terms of the hardware is the camera setup here. Don't get me wrong, you will be getting the same 200 megapixels 1/1.3-inch sensor on the main camera here. That's exactly what you've got on the Fold 7 as well as the S25 Ultra. Though what I really couldn't stand with is that 1/3.94-inch 10 megapixels 3x optical zoom lens. That's certainly one of the weakest telephoto lens we've got on the market right now. And finally, the battery. Now here on the TriFold, we've actually got a much larger 5600 mAh battery compared to the 44 mAh battery on the Fold 7. So we're talking a much larger 10-inch display here. Due to the limited time we've got our hands on the device, we don't have actual result of the battery life at the moment, though I reckon the result would be similar to what we've got on the Fold 7. So we're starting to see phones with a much smaller footprint, like the Oppo Find X9 Pro, and that guy ships with a massive 7500 mAh battery. Oh, by the way, we have 45-watt fast charging here, wired, and 15-watt wireless charging here, a silicon carbon battery, which Samsung could be testing, according to previous rumors, and faster charging, which the S26 Ultra could be getting. That would make a perfect TriFold. And finally, to complete the package, Samsung's giving it IP48 dust and water resistance rating. Now, if you can bear with a slightly smaller battery compared to a regular 10-inch tablet from Samsung, Galaxy AI is where Samsung's foldables doing better than the competition. To keep the long story short, we've basically got every single feature that we've got on the Fold 7 here on the Galaxy Z TriFold, including the much more powerful photo editor object eraser feature here, based on my experience, is the best on the market right now. Now, audio eraser that erases background noise of your videos, that feature's got extended to the voice recorder app as well this year on the Fold 7, so you'll be able to remove the background noise of your call recordings. And you've got full Google services and Google Gemini here, first time on a TriFold phone, I believe. So to wrap things up, in terms of the design approach, I've actually seen two different design approaches from Samsung. They've actually been showcasing their Flex G and Flex S designs at MWC for years. Now, as we can see here, they have the ability and capacity to do a Huawei-style foldable. Though even before the first mass-produced triple folding phone appeared, I personally did prefer the Flex G. The main reason for that is, if you've tried using a foldable phone before, exposing that and taking damages isn't a really great idea at the very first place in my opinion. Despite choosing the inward folding mechanism here on the TriFold other than the outward folding or the Z-shape, S-shape folding mechanism, that would certainly lose some flexibility, especially if you're fond with having a Fold 7 style book-style foldable phone. You would want to use the phone when it's half folded. Though here on the TriFold, there's only two options you've got here, a phone and a tablet. Now, on the phone side, you've got Galaxy AI, which is still one of the best on the market right now. While in the tablet form, if the Galaxy Tab could be the best Android tablet on the market right now, then why not the TriFold? It's basically got every single feature that you've got on the Tab S11 Ultra.